Give a shout out to Patty Austin. I watched the interview she did on Narada Michael Walden's podcast, NMW. If you're interested, Narada Michael Walden, NMW podcast, and Patty Austin, type it in. Great insights, great interview. She's one of my favorite artists ever. One of the baddest female artists you ain't never heard of, unless, of course, you of a certain age and time and you really care about going back and you're a music geek and you understand notes and trajectory and chords and progressions. And an artist that her godfather was Quincy Jones, need I say more. All those great duets with James Ingram, the commercials that made her very successful because she was a commercial, did jingles. She actually bought a Rolls Royce just doing jingles back in the day, which was unheard of. She had done quite well for herself. You know, she had worked with Narada Michael Walden, amongst others. And an incredible vocalist and stylist. Of course, if you happen to be a Steely Dan fan or Paul Simon, you heard her background vocals on quite a few songs. You know, Babylon Sister. You got to shake it fast. I like the story to that because Bobby McFerrin asked about that. I like that story. One of my favorite uncredited Patty Austin stories is when she did the choral hook work on Swear to God with Frankie Valli. Her voice was so distinctive and so hypnotic. Has one of the most distinctive tones. You just gonna know Patty Austin's voice. Never had what I call that money track though, besides the duets with Ingram, that would made her a household the way it should have been. But bet your bottom dollar she was every bit problematic for any of these artists, pretty much, who, if you didn't have your chops in your game, she could definitely run you off the stage. She was a pro, still is. So anyway, interview, Narada asked her, do people still care about albums? And she said no. She said MTV changed that. She said that the culture made it, I had to see it, and it wasn't as potent as to how we grew up. He said there's a people who grew up wondering that Stevie Wonder around getting your speakers out. Now, she did mention Michael Jackson, and she worked with Michael. It's the Falling in Love. They did that together, and she worked with him, and she were friends. And she gave him much credit for what he did for MTV, etc., etc. We did sit around, used to listen to Michael's records, because Michael's records were some of those albums we did. There were albums that we did post MTV, but I got what she was saying in totality. Artists emulated whatever a so-called iconic scene it was in the video. They took that to bring it to the stage. So it was basically doing a theme and a play from what was presented. So it became a theater from the record as opposed to record being its own theater. Meaning in your own mind, you had your own visuals and concepts. But because of the video advent,